Britain's longest-running stamp series was retired last week, after production was secretly halted in November of last year. Despite being billed as the ever-loving symbol of a Britain that never was and never should have been, it transpires that even the House of Saxe, Coburg and Gotha cannot withstand the ravages of time. God knows they tried. As an image, it was mainly used as a sticking plaster to cover the gaping cracks in British society, and as a comfort blanket to those who long ago swapped critical thinking for increasingly hysterical faith in crown and flag. Acceding to the throne at Treetops Lodge in Kenya, Elizabeth II became the accidental queen after her uncle proved to be too close to a Catholic divorcee for the English establishment to seriously consider him. Youthful Nazi enthusiasm being much less problematic overall, both for him and her. Not that much later, the scene at the exclusive lodge might well have been filled with the smoke and fury of the British Empire, desperately torturing and murdering loyal subjects and Mau Mau freedom fighters under its care in a vain attempt to keep the sun from setting. This obituary cannot give full account of the vast and bloody colonial legacy of Elizabeth II, as its records were destroyed on purpose to prevent us or her subject peoples from giving a full account. Whether or not Elizabeth herself was good or kind, a lover of animals or a good grandmother, is a total irrelevancy and should be counted neither for her or against her. Her deliberate assumption of a totemic role within both the diseased minds of her sycophantic subjects and the state itself should be the only standard against which she can be judged. Thus, in her role as head of state, she has, in her own unique way, completely and totally failed to either bind the nation together or indeed act as its shepherd. Not only did several nations mercifully escape the post-imperial mirage known as the Commonwealth, but the constituent components of this sceptred isle are closer to multitudes of dissolution than at any point during the last 2 centuries. Given that all parliaments and offices of state formally act in her name, Elizabeth herself presided over the long and grinding descent into the squalor that is this normal island. Her signature stands under the Windrush deportations, the brutalisation of miners and trade unions, the bedroom tax, the authorisation of uncountable post-colonial wars fought in the name of liberal disaster capitalism, and a dismantling of a state that seems not even remotely interested in whether you live or die. We can only hope that her successor, the vicious idiot and aspiring sanitary product kindly known as Charles III, rules over the kind of kingdom presided over by his first forebear rather than his second. Given his incompetent meddling in the affairs of state, as well as himself personally playing a leading role in the current dissolution of the royal family itself, there is much to hope for in this new age. Apart from the ham-handed king, she leaves behind several other failed children, as well as a host of grandchildren who will never know poverty or despair due to the accident of their birth, as well as a vast personal tax-proof fortune, including £12 million that bought a monstrous silence for her favourite son against accusations of international noncery. Her greatest legacy may well prove to be overseeing the transition of violence applied to the periphery to its increasingly enthusiastic use within the imperial core. It should come as no surprise that the week of Elizabeth Windsor's death also saw the death of Chris Cabot at the hands of uniformed thugs bearing her crest. The brutal murder of willing or unwilling royal subjects is not something that will be questioned nor confronted even in the 21st century. Start as you mean to go on. Queen Elizabeth is dead, but normal reigns eternal. Hello and welcome back to this sombre and respectful episode of Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David and my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James and my pronouns, though they will be offensive, are they and them.
I'm Jamie and my pronouns are he and him.
Hi, I'm Rob. My pronouns are also he and him.
And I'm Alistair and my pronouns are also he and him. And I come bearing good news.
Oh, I wasn't aware there was any news.
Well, the Queen is in fact still dead, and as a result, you lot get to suffer through a tedious quiz that I've assembled for you.
Oh, royal facts.
Okay,
that's extremely what I'm here for.
So,
well, it's
the name
either
of the
this
game...
or the main. It's either this or the main topic, James, and like whatever floats your boat.
Okay, commentariat.
So, normally this would be the segment where we would have news nuggets, but unfortunately
There isn't any fucking news. Yeah,
all the nuggets have been washed away in a sea of royal
Nicholas
tediousness.
Witchel's tears.
So what I've done today is I've assembled. We've got 4 rounds, each of which has something of a theme, and there are going to be 2 things in. Well, there's going to be 3 things in each round. 2 of them are real, and 1 of them is fake. And your job is to identify which one you think is fake. And these are things that have happened as a result of the Queen dying.
So is round 1 the monarchy?
Round 1 is joyfully titled Chief Respecter.
Oh.
Excellent.
So,
Whom
the first
among
thing,
us shall be awarded?
So, should we just get stuck in?
Yeah.
Right. So, your first choice is UK cinemas are to close and to show the Queen's funeral on the 19th of September. And number 2 is new poppies are to be commissioned with Elizabeth's likeness and length of reign on them. And your third option is British cycling warns cyclists to avoid cycling whilst funeral service and associated processions take place. Which is fake?
This is a trick question. It's a trick question. It's option 1 because the cinemas are closing, but they're not showing the Queen's funeral in the cinemas.
Okay,
I was going to say it's
from
option
James.
3 because there's not enough Land Rovers to patrol the streets of Britain to make sure the cyclists don't go anywhere.
Oh no, the cycling story is true.
I'm going to say it's the Poppy one because she didn't die on the hallowed day that she should have. And did actually last year.
Oh, I hope the Poppy one's true. I've never wanted anything more in my life
I mean, I'd love it to be true, but
than to be shot for treason for not wearing a glorified Blue Peter badge.
And Jim will fix his medal with the image of Queen Elizabeth.
The Poppy gets you free entry to the Tower of London. The Jim will fix it medal gets you free entry into the palace, no questions asked.
So everyone happy with their answers?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go for
So
it.
the poppy one was the fake.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so depressing.
I know
So
you're
hang
very
on.
disappointed.
Are the cinemas actually showing the Queen's funeral?
Supposedly.
And closing.
Yes.
Are people having to break in to see it?
The cinema opens, but like no popcorn citizen, just sit in the dark and watch the Queen's funeral.
Every screen has been booked out for a private screening just for Nicholas Witchell. This is his Jurassic Park.
No, what they're going to do is they're going to like just seal everyone in on Sunday night, and then like they have to as their last act before they get gassed is watch the Queen's funeral.
Does this include? Sorry, this might be a little out there, but does this include the porno cinemas in Soho? Because that's a fantastic image.
I'm
in my
going
mind.
to just cut you off and assume the answer is yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's where we'll find Nicholas Witchell, definitely. No change in activities.
Are you all ready for round
Nicholas
2?
Witchell doing his own version
Oh,
of
yeah.
the tweet.
For fuck's sake.
Nicholas Twitchell.
Free gun salute, but not like that.
Oh man,
Too much?
Fuck that guy.
Oh dear. Okay, right. Round 2, please.
Okay, so the theme for round 2 is politics is good, actually.
Oh no.
Your first option, Parliament to spend 2 weeks debating further legislation to commemorate the Queen in place of anything else. Option 2, Cromwell Museum gives a tribute to the life of the Queen. And your third option is Labour bans all MPs from making any public statements that aren't explicitly tributes to Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, what the fuck?
This one is option 1, sadly, because I know about option 2 and 3. I've seen them on Twitter.
Well, yeah, it's option 1 because they've just took 2 weeks off instead, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have in fact rumbled my incredible source for these of twitter.com. It is in fact option 1 is the fake.
Speaking of politics, did anyone see? It was possibly one of my favorite bits. There was an article on the BBC, I think 2 days ago now. Where it was like a fluff piece about like who would be attending the state funeral, and they were like, you know, Biden's going to be there, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and they were like, who's not going to be there, and they named 2 people and sort of gave them equal billing, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, is probably not going to be there. And the other one, again, like on the same line, is like, what we're also not sure about is whether the corgis will be in Westminster.
For fuck's sake.
I thought the corgis would be pallbearers, personally. I thought that's what they were being trained for the entire way.
Pallbearers, but it's
Honestly, I
spelled
think
Pawll.
Oh,
Exactly.
no. Oh, you just
Surely
made the fucking
pallbearers,
Oval Office tweet.
PAW.
Oh,
Literally the joke that was just made, Rob.
I'm just picturing. Yeah, I'm just picturing Vladimir Putin and the corgis sat in a bed sit, like getting just fucking pissed, watching it on the telly and like cursing her out. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's
Like
that
fucking
picture
eight
of,
ace at the gates of the cathedral. Let us in that fucking funeral.
What sort of cans do corgis like?
Dog food, obviously.
That's not okay. Sure, fine.
All right,
Skull.
I'm just going to chime in with Brewdog, and then we just leave it there because Jesus Christ.
Should we?
Finally, we have achieved full Have I Got News for You.
Should we
All right,
slither mercifully into
63
round 3?
63 seasons and a big fucking paycheck incoming. Thank you very much for watching again.
Not for you,
Also,
Rob.
I
You're
regret
Angus
to
Deaton.
inform you, but in 15 years, I will assume control of the country and bring it to ruin.
How will anyone tell, David?
Okay, so round 3, the theme of which is this stupid throne of kings, this normal isle. Option 1: woman brings her mother's ashes to the Queen's funeral procession. Option 2. Option
Off a
2:
strong
certain parts of Scotland and the home counties break out in spontaneous minute silences in memory of the Queen. And option 3: Morrison's turns off beep at checkouts in memory of the Queen, causing long queues.
So,
I hope it's the third one, and I hope it's in response to that fucking one TikTok of the old woman scanning her shopping really furiously during the fucking minute silence.
it's
Wait, was
Right,
there
it's-
already a
it's-
minute of silence, Jamie? Was there already supposed to be one? I didn't know this.
no right.
I know they just had a spontaneous one, I think.
Yeah, I think
There's one which will be enforced in all homes via the government-approved listening devices, which were planted there a long time ago, at 8 o'clock on Sunday, the night before the funeral.
so.
Attendance
I think,
mandatory.
Yeah, I think it's again option 1 is the fake because option 3 is true, and like option 2 sounds credible to me. Like, I don't know any other way to describe it. I can see like unprompted minute silence breaking out.
I mean, you might
Morrison's
say,
turned the
you might
fucking
say,
music off, like, so yeah, 100% that third one is real.
you might say that like someone didn't bring their mother's ashes to the funeral procession, but you can't prove that didn't happen. So
Where's my you buy one, you get one free drop?
yeah, I'm a mum's ashes at the funeral truther now. Like,
Rob, did you give your?
I think it's. I'm
fake?
going to pick option 2 because I believe that weirdos in the home counties have done a minute silence, but I don't believe it of the Scots.
Remember the question is which one
you
is
fool.
fake?
yeah, you just said that
you
one's
fool.
fake because he doesn't believe
Yes.
doesn't believe the Scots would do it.
yeah,
I don't know. They're all too fucking credible. I think. I think the Ashes one is fake because I don't think that she would get in with Ashes.
I've got bad news for you, David, because option 1 is
no.
true and option 2 was the fake.
Yeah,
there have been minute silence up here.
Yeah, but not spontaneously in the street.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's in the
that's-
street, right? So it doesn't count if, like, you know, a shop organises it or something. It's got to be
Yeah,
in the street.
spontaneous, like hence spontaneous.
I think you should fucking
Are we
demand a
saying it's
steward's
technically true?
steward's inquiry here, James. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm
get VAR on the
sorry.
case.
Can we get the review cameras in, please?
Speaking of VAR as well, my favourite development over the weekend was the actual like existence confirmed of nonce VAR when someone slowed down that footage of Andrew feeling up his daughter.
Oh, God. Do you know, right, in all seriousness, do you know that depresses me so much? Because the daughter doesn't
Because
flinch.
Val's ruined the sport.
I shouldn't try and keep it like I shouldn't try and be serious at all tonight. It's a lost proposition.
The Queen's
I'm here saying that, Prince Andrew's daughter clearly looks like she's used to it, and everyone else is just like going off on one. Yeah, there is a tone tonight.
Yeah, computers
and
took all the fun
hell-mend
out of
anyone who
nonsense,
tries to stop the tide.
I will say my favorite bit of like footage fuckery has been the rewind and slowing down of Dan Wooten respectfully laying flowers and just saying he's stealing flowers from Brenda.
Rob, it's impossible to reverse video footage like that.
Yeah,
No,
That's what experts are telling me.
I'll be all right in a minute.
See, there's one of those spontaneous minute silences I was telling you about.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
All right, let's all have a minute silence just to get Jamie back online.
I do like the idea of the spontaneous minute silence being something that just someone decided, actually, this is a minute silence, rather than just, this is a really fucking awkward set of people who just don't want to talk. They'll try to pass it off as something respectful.
Does that mean we are, like, obliged as Republicans to spend the entire time fucking yelling in the streets just so that no one accidentally mistakes it for a minute silence?
yeah. If
Do
you're
you
a
not?
Republican, you're required to like tape a kazoo to your mouth for the coming week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
need to get-
speech
I need
must
to
be
get in-
processed through a vuvuzela.
I need to get a new Twitter account so I can schedule a tweet for that time with that fucking video of the vuvuzelas at the World Cup.
Well, you heard it here, Twitter moderation. When you find the account doing that on the day of a minute silence, you know who it is.
Yeah, well, fucking come at me. You know what I mean? It didn't take the first 8 times. Maybe the 9th will have more luck.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything really to do with the news, because like we said, there is none, and like the royal fucking shit has just been constant. I am so tired.
I'm so bored.
Fucking tired.
So fucking bored. Like, I
Would you like me to
the
bore
only
you
thing
with
I found
more, with more insanity from this country?
Like,
Go on.
I mean, the only
Yes,
thing I
yeah.
sort of found remotely interesting was like just to see how high the pitch was, and I do think it has something to do with like any royal succession, like even in the 21st century, is like kind of fraught with suspense because there's like a weird moment where it's not really there anymore, and I think like part of the reason the whole thing's just kicked into overdrive.
Let's visit the TV schedule for today, right? BBC One, 6 a.m. breakfast. 10 BBC News special. 11:15 His Majesty the King in Northern Ireland. 4 o'clock Her Majesty the Queen, The Journey to London. 17:45 BBC News at 6.
The journey to
1820.
London, so they're just going to train a camera on like a car driving or something.
No.
and then
That
have-
was the plane. They put in an RAF
Oh.
fucking plane, and then it took off from Edinburgh, and they said, right, we'll be back in an hour. So then they did the news at 6 at 17:45, and then at 18:20 we had Report in Scotland, and then at 18:45 we had the eve of the procession to lying in state.
And then there was an emergency newscast to learn that the pilot of that plane had only learned how to take off, but not to land.
No, unfortunately, that was when it did land, and then the One Show was on, so there is no end to the torture.
I noticed. I do like that they put her on a plane rather than drive her through the barbarian hinterlands.
But I mean, there was all this stuff going on about like, oh, when she, when the funeral, I don't know, when her coffin passes by, there's going to be like thousands of people lining the street, and like everybody's going to be throwing flowers, and like honestly, I haven't seen a fucking lick of this coverage. Has this been happening?
No,
or
I'm
is it
sorry.
just, like...
Some of it has been happening, nothing to the fucking tune of what's been said. But so last night she was in St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. And there was a guard of honour and shit like that, and just some soldiers stood around a coffin, and people could go through that cathedral all night. One woman went through 7 fucking times. And wait for it. ScotRail had to put on all-night trains to Edinburgh from Glasgow because there was actually demand for it.
a shameful city.
I mean,
If you ever wanted to rob a house in Govan, last night was your best opportunity, and it'll never happen again.
I mean, you tell no lies there. Like, every single person with like a crown tattoo, a British flag, and no surrender,
Or a ranger
similar-
stop.
Well, yeah, basically, like queuing up. This is like their pilgrimage to Mecca. Essentially, they only have to do it once in a lifetime, but by God, they're going to do it, sort of thing.
We should we should start telling people that the Queen's coffin is faced towards Mecca just to really annoy the
Well, she did accept the truth of Allah and his one true prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, upon her deathbed. This is established.
That's
fact.
true, she did. She said the Shahada as she was dying, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
My favourite thing about that TV schedule is the king in Northern Ireland. I hear they've CGI'd him into Bloody Sunday like Forrest Gump.
But I mean, did you see
Some of that? It's been so
extremely,
fucking disappointing. Like, it was fucking like, here's a really big deal, and it's a bunch of Sinn Féin assembly members or whatever just fucking like shaking hands, and it's like, what happened? What is this?
Did you see the footage that just like was on Twitter right before we started recording of him like losing his fucking shit because his pen doesn't work like again in Ireland, that he signed it with the wrong date, and then his pen started leaking, and then like a little petulant child had like 7 A's
again?
replace his pen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man!
I
I love that for him. That's his thing. He's his one weakness is birals.
Yeah, he's been cursed by the little Bic guy.
Yeah.
No, it's like, listen, you're making fun of him inappropriately here. It's not his fault that his massive sausage fingers crush any implement put in them, causing the ink to go everywhere. This is just like, have some respect.
got fucking pair of hands like Hellboy.
I like the
Do we-
idea
do we
I'm
wanna-
so sick of it all.
of Camilla having to have like a titanium skeleton or something just to be around him all the time.
Nope, I do not like the direction this is going. We will be ending this
She's
now.
like fucking-
Moving on to the
like
main
fucking
topic.
wolf.
I
No,
just
no,
think
I've
it
got
was-
one more round for you, David.
No, I think it was very good and kind of Mr. Blobby to donate his hands and transplant to a thing.
It's what she would have wanted.
I've got one more round for you, David, before we go
Oh,
on to
you've
the
got
main
one more
topic.
round, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one more round, and then the main topic, which
Correct.
has nothing to do with any of this shit.
Yep. We are officially sealing the sarcophagus of the Queen, and we're never going to talk about her again.
Yep.
Yeah,
As it
deadline.
shipped off to Egypt.
Oh, by the way, James, because you asked during our last recording when we talked about this shit, we're about this with There's Your Problem, about why the coffin of the royals is lead lined. That's why
go
they
on.
weigh so much. So I finally I read up on the answer to this, and the answer, I promise you this is true, is
Sorry, can I just before you say it, it's so that her precious orgone energy cannot escape.
No, the genuine answer is to preserve the corpse.
Well, maybe they're going to invent that technology to bring her lifeless corpse back to life, and then she can continue her reign, and Charles will be forever
Sorry.
condemned.
I'm sorry, but we
How
invented Muppets decades ago.
Right. In all seriousness, sorry, we're gonna do this for a second, David. You can't stop me, Rob. How does making the coffin lead preserve the corpse?
I don't know, because elements.
That's
can't
the
get in
orgone
and around.
thing.
What am I, a fucking physicist or a necromancer? I don't know. But this is the stated
Well,
reason.
David evidently
Those
is
are
a
the two
physicist and a
options on
necromancer.
career day at Rob's school.
And thus why he lives in the skeleton castle. No, I'm going with David's explanation. It's orgone energy, clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, put it this way: who else can you think of in history that has been put in a lead-lined coffin and then filled in with concrete around it, other than the people who cleaned up the radiation at Chernobyl?
Look, I
Diana.
don't care how long you carry this
Rod
on.
Hull.
I'm going to subject you all to this fourth round, whether you like it or not.
All right.
Now you know how I feel all the time, Alistair.
I've just had like pictured Rod Hull falling off his roof and like landing in a crater, and they couldn't pick him up, so they just filled it in with concrete and lead.
So the theme for round 4 is
Actually, imagine if the reason Emu's never done anything since Rod Hull died is not because Rod Hull was working Emu, but because Emu's like Thor's hammer and only the worthy can lift it.
Jamie is gonna like find his final calling in life. When
he's
goes
off Twitter for
he
like
goes-
3 days, and he's like just got to unleash it all on the rest of us.
Jamie is going to find his calling in life when he goes to Iceland and he suddenly gets necked by a fucking emu and he wakes up holding the one true power. Like, I'm loving this. Fantastic.
Theme for round 4. No,
Was
that's too
this not round?
dystopian.
Was this not round 3?
I think this was round 3.
No, we've done round 3.
You
Have
sure?
we?
Yes,
We have.
Yeah, we have.
That was
Yeah.
the Queen's, the Ashes thing, etc.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay. Can we get the instant replay just to confirm that?
You can do that on your own time. So the first option, up to 100 of King Charles' staff have been given a redundancy notice now that he's king. Option 2, food banks, some food banks are closed on the 19th of September because of the funeral. And option 3, Jedward to be arrested and possibly deported if either sets foot in the UK due to incitement to treason.
It's the Jedward thing because
It's the Jedward one.
because I saw the other two. Yeah.
It's the Jedward one because we abolished incitement as an offence, and treason has also not been prosecuted since forever. But
I like
also
the
because
idea
Treason
of
can still be prosecuted for.
I really like the idea of Jedward leading like a second Jacobite rebellion, though. Like, I think that's really cool, and it should happen.
Yeah, comrades Jedward are always welcome in this country because you are in fact correct.
True story. Do you know that Prince Charles, they issued a redundancy notice literally while he was when he went to Balmoral, his staff were all told pretty much at the same time, oh yeah, you're going to be made redundant.
Yeah.
Like, just like, nice guy.
Maybe they should have joined a union.
They were the Union of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Also, Alistair,
actually-
you're forgetting that royal staff is specifically legally exempt from most employment laws, presumably also
Yes.
from like their right to form a union.
No, they are. I was about to say they explicitly are. They cannot form a union.
Yep.
Not with that
hey.
attitude.
Hey, at least non-white people can be hired by the royal family now.
Oh, that's good. Lucky
Oh
them.
wow,
Progress.
that makes me feel so much better.
That's an assumption there, Alistair.
I mean, they
Oh,
can
they can
be, but
be. Doesn't
not
mean they have to
necessarily
be.
will be.
Yep, fair. Okay.
And that's it. Well done, everyone, or commiserations if you got it wrong.
Well, commiserations to everybody on this.
Yeah,
on this
mainly
fucking
commiserations.
country.
Do you know, there's a tweet that's just appeared on my feed from a New York Post. The Queen had a gold-plated Nintendo's Wii.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, someone gave her it, didn't they?
I don't
Apparently she liked Wii bowling.
Great.
know. I mean,
just
fair enough.
to-
Wii bowling wasn't terrible.
Yeah, but, you know, just relatable things. The old Nan liked Wii bowling, fantastic. So someone gave her a gold-plated Nintendo Wii. What the fuck? Like, just...
Apparently,
oh,
it
dear.
was auctioned off though, like somewhere earlier this year.
Oh yeah, she got upgraded to a Nintendo Switch and that was it.
It's a bit weird that they're refusing to announce the next Zelda game, though. Like, it's not what she would have wanted.
Do you know why? Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The subtitle for the new Zelda game is Tears of the Kingdom. And that meant that somewhere at Nintendo, someone sat down and saw the Queen had died and just went, oh shit. And we are like, you know, we're just gonna...
I should have added there were a few honourable mentions. The Nintendo thing was one of them, but I thought, that's actually happened now, so I won't bring that up. The other honourable mention goes out to Centre Parks for kicking all their fucking guests out for a day, which I figured everyone would have seen. And
You know, you can
fucking
leave your
incredible.
luggage at the lodge.
Yeah, that is fucking incredible. That
yeah,
man.
go fucking sleep under a bus. Oh wait, no, those are closed as well, probably.
What I don't understand about this is I am pretty certain that all of those people will have grounds to sue Centre Parks for breach of contract. I just can't make sense of this. I
Quite
really
possibly. I've seen a few
because they're
conversations around that.
scared of the papers. Like,
But,
they
I
obviously
get people
hope that they can smooth it over with the people they kick out and, like, you know, offer them a free week or some shit. And that the grief they get from that will be less than if the Daily Mail runs like a front page story about how Centre Parks are run by communists.
Yeah, like a picture of one happy child in a swimming pool, like Centre Parks toddler ruins a royal funeral.
Yeah.
Like,
Imagine, like, you've seen the Centre Park adverts with people doing like jumps on mountain bikes through the woods. Imagine if that happened during the Queen's funeral.
Imagine if anyone experienced some kind of working class joy.
I've just realised, you know what it is? They've issued that advice saying that no one should ride a bike on the day of a royal funeral, and Centre Parks have went, oh fuck, oh shit, oh god, and so they've like cancelled it, because famously when you're in Centre Parks the only transport is a bike.
Well, that's not true though. There's also the water slide, and nothing has been issued in the way of guidance about that.
Yeah, it's just like every single like business in the country will be shitting bricks, because what if one of their employees like went to the papers? Because everyone treats their employees like shit, so it's entirely fair to assume your employees might have a grudge against you. And what if one of them went to the papers and went, well, I wanted to go and grieve our Madge, but like the fucking Centre Parks wouldn't let me have the day off.
I looked at it, and apparently they're not unionised. As best I can tell.
Not surprised in the slightest. Hospitality industry.
They're owned by ultimately owned by like a Canadian investment firm. So like, you know, go fucking figure.
Mm. Oh well. Shall we just fuck this off, because I don't really want to hear about fucking royals anymore.
No, can't fucking take it anymore.
Ideally, never again, but alas.
All right. Well, I think since we've all just had like more than enough of royal nonsense, I figure I'd tell you about some other nonsense. Apart from finance shenanigans, as you well know, one of my other hobbies for this podcast is insane crypto guys and their visions for the future. And this time, what I'd like to talk to you about is what I think is as close of a combination between neoliberal corporations and the Warhammer 40k future, but good actually, that I've ever found. It's fucking incredible.
Two great tastes that taste great together.
Yeah, exactly. So what I want to talk about is it's a new sort of charity or moral philosophy called long-termism and the effective altruism movement. That is, these things are very intertwined.
Oh no, I know about the effective altruism. Oh fuck me, can I retroactively can we resurrect the Queen so this episode never happened?
No, afraid not. Listen,
God
they
damn
have
it.
been trying for days and it hasn't worked yet.
Yeah, they've been sacrificing thousands of psychers and it's not doing any good.
They've been pumping so much adrenochrome into her that Hillary Clinton is going short for once, and it's made no difference.
Right. So before I start, I want to give a big credit to Emil Torres. They wrote a lot of the stuff that I've read, and then added a whole bunch of sources, many of whom that I've also read for this piece. So credit to them. And as usual, if any fuck-ups are mine, not theirs. So essentially, long-termism and the effective altruism movement is an extremely weird and profoundly not good futurist charity movement involving a bunch of crypto billionaires, a bunch of Oxford-based philosophers, and lots and lots and lots of money, essentially. And you might think this is just a niche and weird thing, and it is, but it has already really started working its way into the centers of power, like the United Nations, Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, MIT. Global finance is intertwined with this. The UN is doing a global conference on some of the stuff they're working on. So this is not bottom up. This is very much a top-down elite project. And the reason we're talking about it now is that essentially it's recently had a big sort of coming out at the popular level with a new book from one of its main promoters, a guy called William McCaskill. The book's called What We Owe the Future. It was featured in the New York Times, the New Yorker, the Guardian, the BBC, Time Magazine, and Bloomberg, a host of Fox, all the usual places. And all the marketing tools are being used to influence not just elite thinking anymore, but to really push it into high-level liberalism as the new thing. And it's come equipped with lots of nice quotes and good things, elite approval for for this book. And it's also, surprisingly, very full of thinking that's very good for the petrochemical and finance industries. Because one of the main conclusions of the book is that now is not the time to, not do infinite growth. And that's essentially because we don't yet have the technological whiz-bangs necessary to balance out less economic growth with good times for everybody.
How did all of these fossil fuel interests get into my altruism movement? The jury is still out.
Therefore, at least according to McCaskill, we need more technology and more innovation and more growth right now, so that in some indeterminate date of the future, we will solve humanity's challenges. But those challenges are
so a
not the
wizard
ones
did it.
you're thinking of right now.
So a wizard will fix it. Cool. Great.
Yes, but later we have to.
I think the main challenge facing humanity is cunts like this.
Challenging my fucking humanity anyway.
Yeah, and also as a side note, when I say long-termism, I distinctly do not mean like having a political idea or like a vision that is long-term, like something normal, as opposed to like a lot of the next election cycle stuff that we see a lot in politics as it exists today. That is actually very harmful to society as a whole. Instead, when I talk about long-termism for the rest of this podcast, I'm very much talking about the idea as laid out by one of its philosophers, a guy called Nick Bostrom. Bostrom, and he's also the founder of the Future of Humanity Institute. And what he defines as long-termism
is a very ominous name.
It has it's very Deus Ex, yeah.
It's very much hey, Icarus, you might not want to fly so close to the sun, my boy, kind of energy about it, you know. It's hubris. Thy name is, what is it? Institute for Future of Humanity Society.
Future of Humanity Institute.
Institute. Sorry, yeah, you wouldn't get society from people like this.
No, very much not.
God damn.
So the idea, essentially what they mean by long-termism is that what matters most, this is a quote, is for Earth-originating intelligent life to fulfill its potential in the cosmos. So we're looking at that kind of timescale.
So they want to put dolphins into space.
Yeah, because when I think about the long term, I think, what is humanity's role in the cosmos? Not how are we going to stop boiling the planet's oceans and poisoning like every single conceivable ecosystem on the planet.
Have you considered that we could burn and boil a lot of other ecosystems on other planets?
So essentially, like the potential for humanity out there in the cosmos is mostly undefined, but it is definitely glorious, and it is definitely the place we want to go. So according to Bostrom, there are like 4 long-term future outcomes for humanity as a whole. We can go extinct, which would be bad.
Good.
Would it though?
I was going to say define.
Bad for whom?
The other bad thing is humanity could plateau because we can advance technology. We cannot or do not wish to advance technology
we finally researched the entire tech tree, and it's like that's the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, not the repeatable techs. I hate plus 5% energy weapon damage. Fuck's sake.
See, I've got another read on it. I think it's Return to Monkey. I think the anarcho-primitivists are finally going to
No, that's the next one. The next
Oh,
future
is it?
that would
Oh,
also
wow.
be bad is like a sort of cycle of repeated collapses and re-emergences from the dust, essentially just sort of looping humanity, if you will.
Guzzling the piss of humanity.
But the good outcome, which is where we go into the cosmos, is essentially a post-human era, and this is from
the flesh is weak. Yeah, I'm on board with it.
Yep.
This is from the wiki attached to the effective altruism movement.
Of course.
This is the post-human era is where people have developed significantly different cognitive abilities, population sizes, body types, sensory or emotional experiences, or life expectancies.
Yeah, guy, your man wants to fuck a robot. That's what this is.
No, it's from the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
And I wanted to fuck a robot.
Yeah, once you get the cybernetics implanted, though, James, everything becomes a lot easier. I'm sorry, I've got nothing but Stellaris on the brain at the moment.
Oh, I'm just going
Your time
Warhammer
will
40. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus right now, to be totally honest.
At this point, honestly, I am perfectly fucking content for someone to just upload my brain onto a thumb drive and just yeet me into fucking the void. Just throw me into fucking space and leave me be.
But essentially, like if according to long-termism, if we don't make the right decisions now, and by we I mean a very specific and small cadre of elite freaks, and if we don't make the right decisions now to guide humanity along the right pathways, then it cannot achieve its true purpose in the cosmos by existing and getting better until quite literally the heat death of the universe, which is about 10 to the 100th power years away from today.
Not soon enough, if you ask me.
Rob, you said the right pathways there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's just my brain misheard that as the white pathways, and I was that'd be about right.
It's an easy
for these
mistake
guys.
to make.
So what's the first stages of this brighter plan for humanity? Is it all the rich people like go into bunkers with the money to keep it safe, and then after like everything collapses, they come back out and are welcomed as liberators? Is that roughly the gist of it?
Well, the first step is to do with having more rich people, which is the effective altruism bit. And just as an aside, this thing, by the way, is
That's fucking incredible. Defining altruism as there being more rich people and not getting rid of or solving the problem of people being very poor.
I mean, Rob's being glib, but that is effectively what a movement means.
Essentially, by the way, this whole thing is one of Elon Musk's favorite charities, as well as like a host of other like crypto psychos. All right, so let's talk a bit about the starting point. This is like the sort of this is like the Scientology before they start talking about the space aliens and stuff.
So you've paid like $500 for your like weird class, and now we're about to find out about Thetans.
Yeah. So essentially, effective altruism is a marketing term that comes out of two organizations founded or co-founded by William McCaskill, Bostrom, and some of the others. The first is called Giving What We Can, and the other is called 80,000 Hour Communities. Giving What We Can is an incredibly Silicon Valley idea. It's essentially like a charity aggregator where a host of computer dorks and programmers picks the right charities that have like the most impact.
I've got an alternative suggestion. It's take what we fucking want.
Yeah, but what if like it's like if this podcast, let's say, and we definitely do have like £1 million to give away to charity, where do we put it that it saves the most lives? Like, do you give it to like anti-malaria things or deworming things or maybe saving a habitat?
No, just donate it to fucking Coders Without Borders.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, the spoilers for this is it starts off with, we just need to effectively target our contributions to maximize the good in a kind of utilitarian
you maximize
kind of
the
way.
returns of on your charity, which is something very normal that a lot of people do. And
wouldn't you know it? It immediately says that all the forms of charity which actually do any kind of good to your average person, they're like bad investments. You know,
but like the charities that are like closely aligned to something, say like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, those are very good. So it's along those lines. You kind of have to see it like that.
Don't donate $1 million to like a homeless charity, because those pricks will just go out and spend it on homeless people. What the fuck's that about?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
this, Alistair, you bring up a nice example. So that is how that works. Like, if you donate like £1 million to like a homeless charity in London, you might prevent, I don't know, I'm picking a number out of thin air, 40 people from freezing to death in the winter. Whereas if you give that £1 million to an orphanage in Ghana, you might save like 200 orphans. Therefore, it is more utilitarian to save 200 people and let the people in London starve.
So it's not going to be very big to Baz English then?
Well,
No,
I mean, the homeless in London can just have marmalade sandwiches.
The other thing that I mentioned was the 80,000 hours community, which is apparently like the average length of a career. And 80,000 hours exists to funnel the right people into the really smart people into the right careers. Because if they make a shit ton of money, they can give more money away through giving what we can. So like it says to young people, instead of like becoming an organizer or an activist or a union leader, you should go to work in like Wall Street or Silicon Valley or like BP. So you can earn a lot. And when you earn a lot, you can donate more to charity effectively.
Yeah. So that is the actual function of this. It's like guilt reduction, right? The other half of it sounds a bit strange. Like, well, what's the
Oh
problem
my
with
god, they've
maximising
reinvented tides.
Yeah, basically, it's like you're thinking of indulgences, but same idea. Like you buy off the guilt by giving some of your money to the church, if you will. But the other side of this, just to like cut through the bullshit and just spell it out explicitly, it's the Preston model, but the rich prick like third sector ecosystem is what they're essentially doing. What they're trying to say is...
they've made it way worse. They've quantified it and made it worse in every... Like, they've taken charity, which is already, like, has a lot of problems, and then said, what if we, like, jammed it full of Silicon Valley cunts?
Yeah, and this is the idea, but it's the Preston model for rich pricks third sector, right? So don't let your money go away from Silicon Valley or whatever and end up like in an actual effective charity. Instead, circulate it through our group of like, you know, codependent, like good Silicon Valley adjacent and friendly, you know, mates. And as a consequence, it keeps all that money circulating in the same ecosystem. Because wouldn't you know it, you donate to the charity that's going to do, let's say, the orphanage in Ghana, Rob, and wouldn't you know it, they take out a contract with Microsoft, and then Microsoft pays its employees, and its employees are all subscribed to this service where they give some of their money to effective spending, which goes to a charity in Ghana. And you just kind of get its Preston model, except it's for rich pricks. That's what it basically is.
It has some bonus features, but that's not a bad way of putting it. But essentially, according to its own website, it's really hard to get good data on this. But this foundation, the Effective Altruism Foundation, now has more than $46 billion in committed funding, which is like $7 billion more than the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And if you're thinking about like how much like evil that's done in the world and like how much influence it has, this has the potential to be like way bigger. About $420 million a year is being donated by about 10,000 people. A few very select people in particular. So it's very rich people who keep control over where the donations are going through the lens of effectiveness, essentially.
Yeah, and they intentionally use it to shape policy. Like, I don't know if we've talked in depth about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation before, but for example, they shape the educational curriculum by basically going, hey, we've got a big check, we could cut you, but we've just got a few concerns. And, you know, we just shit like that.
I mean, famously, the AstraZeneca vaccine is a really good example of this, where they were going to make it free, but then the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation said, actually, it's better if you partner with big pharma. Mm-hmm. So originally, all this stuff like the effective altruism, the 80,000 hours thing, the giving what we can thing, it was all sort of based around, you know, the usual stuff, but like in a more realistic. I won't say realistic, but like we want to solve global poverty, we want to have better animal welfare, all that stuff. It's since taken a bit of a turn, and that's why now I want to start talking about long-termism, because these two, like the whole strategy of effective altruism is now essentially pointing in the direction of long-termism. So now I want to start talking about William McCaskill. He wrote like a long essay published in full on the BBC website, by the way. And it's the main thing you get when you read it is it's incredibly vague when you're looking for the problems that this thing wants to solve. And why that is will become like incredibly and painfully obvious as I keep talking about it.
See, when you say it was published in full on the BBC website, I'm just picturing it like it just tells you what time like fucking Question of Sport's on or something.
Essentially, one of the main tenets of long-termism is that all future unborn generations yet to come between us and the heat death of the universe matter as much as the people currently alive. So let me quote from the essay. If you could prevent a genocide in 1,000 years, the fact that those people don't exist yet would do nothing to justify inaction. In fact, you are morally obliged to act in such ways as to prevent future collapses of all kinds. Now, how you do that, of course, is...
This is just fucking Roko's Basilisk, but nicer.
I'm guessing this always manifests as... Well, you know, you could, like, give money to the poor today, but if you gave that money to, like, fucking, do you know what I mean, Elon Musk, in the future, he would save 10 million times as many, like, poor people, so it's better to just, like, give him the money.
pretty
you
much
got it in one,
exactly.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Essentially, and the threats that long-termism and these various institutes around it have all identified is not like basic stuff like, you know, rampant inequality or climate change collapse or biosphere collapse or, you know, any of those things. The two main ones that they're very worried about is pandemics on the one hand, as well as rogue AIs breaking loose and essentially killing us all.
Oh,
One of these
get the
things is
fuck.
not like the other.
We should be so fucking lucky.
What
So
if
what
Roko's
basically-
Basilisk had a carrot rather than a stick?
No, it's what this is like. Where this comes about is it's for Roko's Basilisk people like, oh god, you need to be nice to the machine so that when it comes into being, it won't like come back in time and fuck us all.
All
like,
right,
it's these people, right? Have essentially got their hooks into this and went, oh well, hang on a minute. And that's the direct connection. That's why the rogue AI, because what it is if someone's listened to, you know, we've listened to Roko's Basilisk of, oh, at some point there'll be a supercomputer arises, which will be so powerful, eventually it'll figure out how to do time.
No. That's not necessarily it. It's the fact that it could recreate a version of you that is so like you that it basically is, and you would therefore be torturing yourself. It's so fucked up. It's like,
right?
It's
But
the Star
here's
Trek transporter argument, except taken to the fucking nth degree.
But
See what it
here's
is, though,
here's
if,
the thing, though, like,
Sorry, go on.
yeah. So part of the problem is that someone has heard this and went, well, that's fucked up. Why don't we just stop the AI from existing? And
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. And to stop the AI
thing
from
is,
existing, we must now make certain choices that we know that in, like, we don't know, but we can make like a probability outcome that in 1,000 years, the decision to do something with an AI or not will save people.
This is example convergent evolution of fuckwits.
This is just the fear of God for people who've like gone too far on like fucking fedora atheism and don't want to back down.
It gets like, if you thought fedora atheism.
And I just want to say as well, if someone invents this fucking like basilisk, I'll just batter the fucking thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So
I'm not
essentially,
scared of a fucking computer.
So McCaskill in the essay does away quite quickly with the pandemic scare. He essentially just says, look, we just need more cool, hot startups funded with lots of money from people working in the petrochemical sector, and then they will fix it because wizards.
I mean, what the fuck are they
like,
going to do now that the free money tap's going to be is being shut off? Because
that's a very interesting question, because a lot of their donors are highly like into the crypto space, so I don't know. And like from everything I'm going to tell you, like upcoming, it's probably better that none of what these people want will like come to pass or become start to infest elite institutions more than it already has. But
Jamie,
I want to talk a little bit.
Sorry, like the phrase "I have no gadget and I must dunch" has just popped into my head. I had to get it out, sorry. It was an intrusive thought that I had to escape.
You see what it is though? That whole fucking thing about the computer will make a copy of you and torture it forever. It's like the copy of me that the computer like created, on top of everything else, would just be disappointed if I'd like fucking not like fuck the computer off. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I really like the
exactly.
idea of there
I'm just
existing
picturing-
copies of you with like even more Twitter accounts. Like at some point, you know, it would just be 90% Jamie.
I'm quite happy
Jamie's
to
the
serve
bot.
I'm quite happy for the suspended sentence that I serve to be served by another version of me. That works out
Yeah.
in my favour.
Yeah,
actually.
fuck that
I'm-
guy. I hate
I'm-
him.
I'm just picturing like AI Jamie gets resurrected in like the Pain Matrix and just kind of looks around and goes, "Ah, fair enough, fair cop then." So just like because
So
that strikes me as the attitude, right?
Let me tell you a little bit more about their specific worries around AI. I mean, they have two specific types of worry about this. The first one is essentially, what if we invented an AI that can engineer itself into an even better AI, and that would essentially turn against us or set priorities that don't serve us, and it would essentially improve so fast we couldn't understand it anymore, and essentially we would create a god with flaws in its logic that would essentially seek to skip steps to delivering us a better future and like glass the planet or
fuck
something.
off. We are doing that right now. There is a fucking 10-day procedure to do this at the moment. Fuck's sake.
The problem with all these fucking idiots is like, AI might fucking like take over the planet. Oh, what about the AI? It's like the problem is that they genuinely think that like tech bros are wizards. It's like, you know what I mean? Have you seen the state of AI? It's fucking dog shit. It isn't real. They've been on the brink. They've been on the brink of inventing it for 40 years at this point. It just fucking leave it alone.
Jamie, can I present you like an even more terrifying thought than a self-improving AI that would glass the planet? This is from
self-improving AI that wouldn't glass the planet.
This is from an exceedingly fawning profile in The Guardian last month. Imagine, McCaskill says, if the Nazis had won the Second World War, held on to power for a few hundred years.
I think John Lennon's version was better.
Imagine all the Nazis.
The Nazis held on to power for a few hundred years, established a world government, and then got to the point of developing artificial general intelligence, and then you could have a future that would be guided and controlled by Nazi ideology forever.
And how would that be any different to today?
Well, it would be more evil.
What if Operation Paperclip happened?
Operation Clippy.
Well, I mean, we've heard about these runaway eyes that want to turn everything into paper clips, and I think you've just solved it, David. People have misunderstood it. No, in all seriousness, like, this always gets me, because it's like, what if we make an AI which is flawed in its logic, and it's like, like human beings. Like,
but the thing is, though, if you invent an AI, just don't plug it into like the fucking computer that launches nukes. It's not difficult, right? It's a computer. You just leave it in the computer. You don't connect it to do you know what I mean? Like, you don't connect it to a thing that can then destroy the world, and it can't do fuck all about it. You know, you just make sure you don't let like some guy who, like, if you've got a guy who has access to the nukes, you don't let him talk to it in case he's like that fucking dipshit from Google.
It's way too late because Stormfront's already online. So, like,
Jamie's like wading into this debate like the fucking guy in that CSI show where he just pulls the plug out for the computer.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie's basically saying more sky, less net, and I'm in favour of that.
I do want to stress that, and they also want to stress that it's not like all AIs are evil. As long as they remain under control, we will need like digital minds, because they can replace human workers, and that would scale up the amount of brains we could dedicate to R&D.
I've just got it. It's not the AI will be evil part that scares them. It's the AI might rebel, and we can't control it like we can control people.
The AI might realise what we've been doing to it this whole time.
Yeah, like with these suckers who we've got working for us down the Tesco or whatever, like, they'll take whatever we throw at them. But what if we make an AI and it's actually smart enough to go, how about no, and we can't rein it back in line? That's what they're afraid of. It is karmic punishment.
The Torment Cube is going to realise that we created it on purpose.
Yeah. Right, but again, though, the thing is, like, why would you create an AI that can think for itself and not just one that's like, you know, specific, like machine learning to do the fucking checkout at Tesco or whatever? It's insane to think that you would like go, we've invented the mechanical brain. It thinks like an actual human, and then we're going to put that in a checkout.
Right, no, the reason they want to do that, Jamie, is it has to have the capacity to be demeaned and suffer for it to actually give them any joy and value in life. It has to meaningfully be subjugated.
You're not far wrong, because a lot of the research, I say research, just big quotation marks, being done into essentially what if AI but evil is done through the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, which gets a lot of money from Peter Thiel. So like that's absolutely fine.
What if your Alexa came to life and like broke into the moon and tried to kill it?
Exactly, and then we wouldn't get to go to the moon. So like, these are some of the real, like, these are like the pandemics and the evil AIs are some of the things that the long-termists want to avoid. But I want to spend some real time.
They've done a bang-up fucking job on avoiding the pandemics.
I want to talk for a while also about like the good outcomes, essentially. So if we prioritize things right,
are the good outcomes fuck you and more money for us?
They are. I can't even begin. You have to let me talk about this for a little bit. So if we prioritize the right things and use like charity in the right way, we could essentially create like a superhuman race of peoples that could colonize the stars and also exist on digital planes powered by supercomputers, which are powered by Dyson swarms that use the energy of star systems.
How much
Well, I hate
were
to
they
tell
on?
you. I hate to tell you, but I had to turn a guy away from, like, knocked on the door the other day, asked collecting money for, like, the British Heart Foundation or something because I just can't afford it. And so I might have, like, derailed that future forever. So, you know what I mean? It's on me, lads. Sorry.
Report to the Torment Nexus.
Yeah.
Jamie flaps its wings in the UK and the whole star future collapses.
He's doing his
essentially-
part.
Yeah.
So there's the three negative outcomes: extinction, plateauing, or like back to monkeys, back to humans, back to monkeys cycle. But what if
That
we
sounds
get to
mint. Let's do that one.
It does.
so what if we get to the promised land? And this is essentially the subchapter that I've titled "What if the Warhammer 40k universe, but it's good actually."
In the grim
Great
dark
Hammer,
future,
yes.
there is only war and everyone loves it.
So, like, long-termist philosophers have, like, three main long-term potential goals for humanity in mind, and they are worth doing quite a lot for in terms of what they're willing to do to get there. The first of these three goals is creating a race of radically enhanced post-humans through re-engineering our bodies and our brains.
Oh, eugenics.
Yeah, exactly. This is literally an idea that's been recycled from the 1920s Anglo-American eugenics movement.
Yeah, but guys, what if an AI had been programmed by the Nazis? That would be really bad. Anyway, about eugenics.
But it's like that. It's the whole thing of like eugenics is bad because race science is bullshit. But with science, we could make it real, and then it wouldn't be bad because it would be true. And it's just
And
like,
if we
fuck
worshipped Slanesh, we could make it a whole lot better. Because this, according to the thinking they have, this would also include taking morality-boosting chemicals such as oxytocin, the hormone.
What?
I mean,
Oh my god!
I hate to fucking find out like this that I am actually from the future. Because I'll
Oxytocin,
be honest, whatever they sent me back to warn you about, I've fucking forgotten.
I love the idea that literally to become more moral, you just need more love in you. That's it. It's like this is a child's understanding.
No
of
one
the
on
world.
MDMA has ever committed a crime.
Oxytocin, for those of you who don't know, is like a hormone most commonly associated with the body signaling women that it's time to give birth. But we also produce it when we're sexually excited or when we fall in love. And so among its nicknames is the cuddle hormone. So that's the thing that we need to inject more of into ourselves to create a better thing.
That honestly sounds like a fucking, do you know what I mean? A band that gets arrested. You know what I mean? Like fucking for some antics that went on at like at the local fucking youth club. Like, all right, kids, wear the cuddle hormone, and then like fucking sirens suddenly appear.
So, and according to Borstrom in his 2008 Letter from Utopia, society
My son is also called Boston.
Like in this post-human society, we would be awash in like so much pleasure. We would, quote, sprinkle it in our tea.
Dirty fucking bastards.
You are.
Love to be so awash with pleasure that it gets in my tea.
It also includes, and this is from...
It's what she would have wanted. Let's be fair.
It also includes, and this is from Emil Torres in an essay called Against Long-Termism, post-human modes of being that are far better than our current human mode. We could, for instance, genetically alter ourselves to gain perfect control over our emotions or access the internet via neural implants, and maybe even upload our mind to computer hardware to achieve digital immortality. As another
Why
philosopher,
would you want any of those things? Can you
So
imagine
that I
having
can be
the
put on a
internet?
thumb drive and yeeted into the
Can
void
you
forever.
Can you imagine having the fucking internet literally wired to your brain?
I can imagine if
Anyone who actually tries to do that deserves what they get.
No, I'm sorry, but I was on Twitter the day the Queen died, so I can basically imagine what it's like to have the immensity of an entire fucking nation pouring into my brain. So.
Jamie creating new Twitter accounts at rates hitherto unknown by humanity.
I'm just picturing Jamie sitting there, his skull buzzing like a phone on vibrate as it all washes through. Yes, fantastic.
Right, so essentially, as one of another long-termist philosopher, a guy called Ord, O-R-D.
Called what?
Ord.
Ord what?
We're sitting on our podcast contemplating our Ord.
Yeah, everyone at home, get your Ords out.
Yeah. My son is also cold, etc.
All doubt for the Queen.
Pondering our Ord, indeed.
Essentially, as he urges in a different essay called The Precipice, think how awesome it would be to perceive the world via echolocation like bats and dolphins, or magnetoreception like red foxes and homing.
I want to be Daredevil! I really want to be Daredevil!
Can someone please just introduce these fucking freaks to hallucinogens? You can do all of this shit. Like, you don't need to upend the entirety of the human
I'm grinding to a halt here. Alistair, I'm sorry to completely piss all over your worldview, but Burning Man exists and it hasn't helped.
Well, I mean, at least if they went to fucking Burning Man, they wouldn't be writing all these tedious books for us to go through.
No, but many of them is the problem. They go to Burning Man. It's become gentrified as fuck, and they all take their hallucinogens, and then they come back from mountain and go, do you know what the problem is? It's the fucking AI god in the future is going to fuck up.
Actually, I'm going to tell them
the problem here is that they're not taking enough, or the ones that they are taking aren't severe enough. They should all be coming back damaged.
Yeah, they should.
For the fact that they'll survive in these encounters, we wouldn't have any of these fucking.
Yeah, you're not allowed to write a book about the future of humanity unless you've experienced the fear.
Yeah. We will not accept any more academic papers until the writer is on a permo.
Right, so essentially, apart from all the cool genetic modification and the pleasure sprinkled in our tea stuff that we will have in the long-termist future, the second one is that humanity will definitely dominate not just the galaxy, but the cosmos itself. Because if we're on the right path...
in space.
All of the space that humanity could reasonably access within the space-time continuum could be ours, including all of its resources. In long-termism, this is called our cosmic endowment, and it is
overcompensating.
It is 150,000 light years across and encompasses more than 100 billion stars, most with their own planetary systems. And essentially,
I don't know about you, David, but my cosmic endowment is growing at a phenomenal rate.
You're right.
It's
you
expanding.
do not know about me.
And essentially what we would be able to do is to colonize them through a great crusade, or essentially to...
Interesting
they don't use those words.
Use of words. Right, okay.
Is essentially we would be able to hop from star system to star system with our dolphin brains and use each previous base to settle... the next one, 5 or 6 light years away, and thus, we would hopscotch our way across the visible spectrum.
So, space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of a dipshit enterprise. Yeah, sure, okay.
These people just want to create an enemy for the saviors of Posadism. That's all this is.
And by the way, they've also calculated, roughly speaking, that if we did this, if we created a big star empire and had all these planets with people on it, we would in the end get to a human population of about 10 to the 54th power number of people.
That's too many people.
There's far too many. One is too many.
Yeah, so the philosophy that would underpin all this is it's utilitarianism, but taken to its most extreme form. Because our starfaring enterprise would essentially maximize the total value, the intrinsic value of our world and society.
Oh my god! Taking the principle of like a civilization's order, like a first order civilization, utilizes all the power of its planet or whatever that is. Except it's not energy. It's like the fucking profitability. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's got the Kardashian skill.
And essentially, how we would calculate this intrinsic value of our worlds and societies would be from an impartial vantage point. Long-termist like to call.
That is a load-bearing impartial right there.
I love to levitate on my my universe-defying mountaintop, survey the cosmos, and make moral pronouncements without any attachment whatsoever.
The universe is a frictionless sphere.
Well, I mean, quite literally, because this vantage point is what long-termists call the point of view of the universe.
Sorry that you've been mulched in the fucking oxytocin extracting machine. It is, in fact, the nature of the universe for this to happen to you.
Listen, the space must flow.
Well, I mean, essentially, that is what this is. Like, utilitarianism is Jeremy Bentham is, the thing you should choose to do is the thing that creates the best outcome for the most number of people, and that should guide your decision making. That's
the ultimate in long-termism is to
briefly
bring about the Kwisatz Haderach. That's what we want. That's what the people are crying out for. A mind powerful enough to bend space and time.
So essentially, ultimate utilitarianism equates the life of one person with the fate of humanity. So if we don't have the right people in the right place to take us through the hinge points to get us to the spacefaring society, things would be bad. And if we don't do this long-term vision and listen to these weirdos, our species might not live to see the full 10 to the 100th power years of solid progress until the heat death of the universe, which is unavoidable. So, there is an end date to all this.
Well, at least there is an end.
If you want this future, the glorious spacefaring future, of course, like if you extrapolate it back to today, you can just nearly do anything. Like you can kill 1 million people or 5 million people or 100 million people because you say, well, that's a lot of deaths right now. But if we don't do this, then we will not have the glorious spacefaring nation in 10 to the 100th power years from today.
Come one, come all, for this low payment price of one genocide, you too can place a down payment on this future. But hurry, options are limited and stocks may not last. Yeah, like, loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Why does it have to be humanity? Did the first bit not say, like, earthborn intelligence? Can't we just fucking hand the planet to the squid? Just give them a go. It'll probably be better.
I was like, when they said put intelligence in space, I was like, the dolphins, yes? No.
Oh, fuck the dolphins. They're horrible fuckers. Give it to the squid.
I mean, would it surprise you to know that one of its biggest donors doesn't think climate change is a real problem facing humanity because it is as nothing as compared to the galactic timeless future of humanity?
Is this just basically, like, on some level, is this just people unable to grapple with their own mortality in any meaningful way, and rather than retreat into, like, harmless fantasy, they've retreated into, well, whatever the fuck kind of harmful fantasy this is?
I mean, yes, that's always the answer.
I mean, partly it's very like Starship Troopers. It's we're in it for the species, boys and girls. You have to think along those lines, and that was a good and functional society they lived in, if you remember the movie.
Yeah, and Jamie's doing his part.
Essentially, according to Bostrom again, this is a quote, a non-existential disaster causing the breakdown of global civilization is, from the perspective of humanity as a whole, a potentially recoverable setback. It might be a giant massacre for man, he adds, but so long as humanity bounces back to fulfill its potential among the stars, it will ultimately, in the long run of the future, register as little more than a small misstep for mankind.
I have actually realised that this guy is just saying, what if we just had a God Emperor of mankind, and the God Emperor of mankind was a giant worm? That is literally what he has read Dune and said, much to think about.
This reminds me very much of Horizon Zero Dawn's, like, really obnoxious plot, which is, we fucked it, lads, but don't worry, we can seed the future so humanity will prevail. It's like, yeah, okay, mate, thanks for that.
Yeah, well, cool. I'm going to say to this guy, fuck the future. You know what I mean? Like, I think we should maybe not give a fuck about, what if in the future there was like a million billion humans, and they were all on different planets wearing different hats and like talking in different accents to Captain Kirk or whatever, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Maybe do something for the people that live now.
No fate but what we post.
I mean, essentially, Bostrom in the same essay also calls Chernobyl, the AIDS pandemic, and 2 world wars, and by an extension the Holocaust, as mere ripples on the surface of the great sea of life. Which is fine. And it, by the way,
I'm gonna
also
find this guy and
patiently explain why he is wrong.
By the way, it also, of course, means that those who are in charge of shaping the pathway to this galactic future also get to decide on what that pathway is and also what it is not. So, of course, the question is who's in charge of the spaceship? If you want to get like a really good glimpse into like the brain melting madness that occurs when you start playing God and extrapolating humanity along to the 10 to the 100th power timeline, let me read you 2 short paragraphs from an essay called Astronomical Waste, written by Bostrom. With very advanced technology, a very large population of people living happy lives could be sustained in the accessible region of the universe. For every year that development of such technologies and colonization for the universe is delayed, there is therefore an opportunity cost. A potential good, lives worth living, is not being realized. Right. So,
Yeah.
do you know what? Somewhere out in the vastness of this infinite universe, there's a planet that's just full of dogs, and the dogs are just fucking vibing in paradise. They don't have to put up with this bullshit at all. Do you know what I mean? I bet they haven't even developed language, and they're just so much fucking happier for it.
So he then proceeds to, in this essay that I have read, and he is fucking insane, he then proceeds to calculate the potential good that's been lost by us not taking the right pathway to us becoming space marines, essentially.
Yes, how many nano Hitlers am I committing by not giving Elon Musk all of my money?
Right. As a rough approximation, let us say the Virgo supercluster contains 10 to the 13th power stars. One estimate of the computing power extractable from a star and with an associated planet-sized computational structure using advanced molecular nanotechnology is 10 to the nth operations per second. A typical operation of the human brain is roughly 10 to the 7th power operations per second or less. Not much more seems to be needed to stimulate the relevant parts of the environment in sufficient detail to enable the simulated minds to have experiences indistinguishable from typical human experiences. Given these estimates, it follows that the potential for 10 to the 35th power human lives is lost every century that colonization of our local supercluster is delayed, or equivalently, about 10 to the 29th power potential human lives per second. So, set against
I love the idea that, like, he's just like, okay, take the solar output of a star in terms of energy. All right, I'm with you. And let's take a planet-sized resources, sure. And let's assume nanomachines, son. Like, just like thrown in there. Like, it's just like, oh, goddamn.
But did I hear that right? And his like big calculation for how many lives are lost by us not fucking like colonizing space,
becoming space marines, yes,
is based on how fast a computer you could make out of all of those stars.
Yes.
Also, every sperm is sacred.
It's essentially what is the computing power of a computer built of nanomolecular technology?
Okay, but
and then
right.
that
okay,
power
but if
is
that's,
subdivided by the power of the average human brain, a high-functioning brain. And if you divide that, then you get a number of human brains that we do not have because we're not currently building arcs.
No, yeah, that's what right, okay, but if that's the case, right, why isn't this guy mad about the waste, the incredible fucking wasting of computer processing power that goes on today? Why is he not down at Industrial Light and Magic with a machete?
From a utilitarian perspective, this huge loss of potential human lives constitutes a correspondingly huge loss of potential value.
I'm fucking sorry, but like
there?
this guy is. just say that every single human life is worth existing purely on the basis that it might be a life that is like actually worth living. Like,
so I'm gonna
Alistair, I just want to jump on Alistair for a while. Let me finish the quote. I am assuming here that the human lives that could have been created would have been worthwhile ones. So it is commonly supposed.
That's you, Tell.
Since it is commonly supposed that even current human lives are typically worthwhile, this is a weak assumption.
Oh, oh my god! Because I was about to push back and say there is inherent value in every human life, yes, but like there's that guy. He first hits Alistair, then he turns around and punches me in the jaw. Fantastic. Also, I just want to say, I would normally never say this, but this guy is doing a huge disservice to utilitarians. Like,
yeah, but these are hyper utilitarians. They're not, normal human beings. Later on, by the way, I wouldn't
even call them utilitarians. I honestly think it's an insult to the philosophical kind of tradition. And I'm not a utilitarian. I don't actually buy most of utilitarianism, but these guys are doing it dirty.
I mean, this guy, if this guy's mad about like, oh, well, we could have had all these like good lives that had been lived and we don't. Why is he not repeatedly slamming his own head in a car door to try and give himself the opposite of whatever brain injury fucking Hercules got?
Later on, would it surprise you to learn that he also makes the claim that like people with Bill Gates' level of material resources are actually better placed to put us on the right pathway because they are closer to expanding our mental capacities and definitely prolonging our subjective lifespan than, say, somebody living in a slum in Cairo.
That better place too is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, isn't it? I noticed you didn't say Bill Gates is putting us on the path to fucking like, utopian space societies. He just could if he wasn't like such a fucking massive
procrastinator.
I think that's the first edit of the episode, isn't it? That's the first one we had to
first libel one anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so it's doing pretty well this far in.
It is, by the way, so it is at this point, if we colonize the stars, that we would finally, and this is the philosopher called Toby Ord that I was referring to earlier. So this would be the point at which we would obtain existential security once we've done.
We have found the ultimate cop.
Engage with philosophical existentialism as I grapple with my role in the cosmos? No. But, like, externalize existentialism into some mad crusade campaign to colonize the universe with computational equivalents of human beings. Yes. Like, it's just amazing.
I mean, Canderous Auto, by the way, also does some extremely funky math in a different essay. The chance of climate change causing an existential catastrophe is only like 1 in 1,000, which is a whole 2 orders of magnitude lower than, according to his calculations, the probability of super intelligent machines destroying humanity in this century. So we shouldn't do much about climate change.
Fuck off.
I love everything about these guys. Do you know what I really want to do? I genuinely want to sit them down and
help
buy
them relax.
Later. I want to sit them down and get them a drink and get them like really drunk and just go like, you're full of shit, right? Like, just between us, you're full of shit, right? And just to find out whether they do. Like, I really want to know how many of them are true believers and how many of them are just like, this shit is fun and like.
Well, I think for a lot of the donors, like, it just confirms that the choices they're making in their own lives are the right ones because they have a lot of money and are, donating effectively altruistically. So therefore, they are already, setting themselves on the right path and don't have to surrender any of their material or personal wealth for a better future because this is the way to get it because they have all these weirdos like doing stuff.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the whole thing is driving the Preston model, but for rich dick, Silicon Valley bullshit. Like totally fine. Like, and I get that there's some cynicism behind that, but it's just for people who are like really drinking deep of the schniff ideology of this thing. I just really want to know how many of them are like really fully sold, and how many of them are just they're in it because it's a bit of a laugh and it justifies doing all the things they were going to do anyway.
I'll just listen to all of them.
If you want to talk about justifications, essentially the biggest question I think maybe at this point is like, what atrocities would we be unwilling to commit if our inevitable cosmic goal is to have 10 to the 54th power people in the cosmos living happy lives before the heat death of the universe? Well, for one, the thing that they definitely want is to, and that's something they think we should have now, is to create a global automated surveillance machine capable of preventive policing. Which is fine.
Yes, the Ultron Initiative. Yes, let James Spader be the world cop. Yes.
It's Ultron Minority Report pre-crime shit. Loving it. Absolutely loving it.
It's actually person of interest.
And that global surveillance Minority Report machine would actually be fine because it could prevent the hypothetical singular bioterrorist attack. If you remember that plagues are one of the two ways that humanity could end. The other thing that's definitely on the table
is it going to be classified as a bioterrorist attack when I shit through his letterbox?
Well, no, because David Spader would have seen you coming, Jamie. There's no. Right. So the other thing,
it's very on brand for David Spader's superpower to be seeing people coming. You've got me saying David Spader now as well.
The other thing that's definitely on the table is preemptive war, because as long as the long-termist thinkers, they can tell you.
Has that ever been off the table?
Well, but this time, if these people like McCaskill and Borstrom and Candace Ordo can tell you with some level of
stop saying that fucking Star Wars ass name.
No, you flip it round. Ordro Candace is one of the Space Marine divisions. Clearly.
It literally is a Star Wars name.
Yes, it
is. What I love about this, though, is that there's some of these nerds somewhere are going, listen, the fundamental problem in our society today that makes it really likely we'll fall apart in war is racial division. Therefore, the solution is a very final one that you can see. You can tell they're that kind of prick, and that's where the mind goes.
Well, it's almost like that, James. It's more like this is an actual hypothetical, and one of the papers I've read is...
oh, no.
If you're the president of the United States and the CIA brings you trustworthy information, yeah, I know, that somewhere...
Yeah, imagine if they did that.
Is that somewhere in Germany there's a bioterrorist that's about to unleash a weapon that will that will do the annihilation thing and set us on one of the three wrong paths. It would therefore be morally justified for the President of the United States to glass the entirety of Germany, because it would have prevented a worse outcome for the 10 to the 54th power people yet to be born in the future.
Yep. No, it's genocide, Holocaust, all fine.
Yep, also masturbation illegal now.
Also, this is from another long-termist thinker called Beckstead, who is cited by Ord as having a very important contributions made. Let me quote you the following. This has to come to a great shock to all of you, I should think. Saving lives in poor countries may have significantly smaller ripple effects than saving and improving lives in rich countries.
Here we go.
Richer countries have substantially more innovation, and their workers are much more economically productive. Consequently, it seems more plausible to me that saving a life in a rich country is substantially more important than saving a life in a poor country.
We're all having a go at this cunt. But, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm certainly thinking that I could probably save a lot of lives by
doing a first aid course.
Well, even for that, they have an answer, because there's another paper out there, which I've also read, called In Defense of Fanaticism, in which one of these philosophers posts that doing all of this is actually cool and good. And that's because the expected value theory with a plausible axiology shows that even a very tiny probability of a good outcome, like a lottery or humanity conquering the cosmos, is better than definitely saving one life today at the cost of the glorious future yet to come.
I mean, I hate it when my axiotl or whatever the fuck he said is implausible. That's like
And yeah,
one of the worst things that can happen.
winning the lottery, very much like like all of humanity venturing out towards the stars. Neither of which have ever happened.
Well, I mean, Alistair, expected value theory says it would be better to sacrifice those billion or more lives for a minuscule chance at the infinitely many blissful lives, and likewise if the number of blissful lives were finite but still sufficiently many. They also make a distinction, by the way, between normal lives and blissful lives, and I think blissful lives you can only achieve if you get the
Nerve
dolphin
stapling?
implants, essentially. or if you drink the Slanesh tea, essentially. I think that's the other way of doing it. So essentially,
Humanity to drink the cum tea at last.
So, I want to move towards wrapping this up because I think you sort of get the gist of this. I mean, obviously, these people, they have a very determined strategy. They write about this in their own wikis and stuff of not introducing people to this level of shit, but to sort of stick to the effective altruism and then building on that to initiate people more deeply into the mysteries of
so this is the
altruism
Thetans
later
bit then.
on.
This is
Sorry?
the Thetans bit then. So this is
Yes,
you've been
yes,
ingratiated
it's very
into
close
the
to that,
fucking
yeah.
church, and now all your you know what they are now. Cool.
I'm very fucking mad that of all the projects that had a wiki written for it, that actually took off was this one.
I mean, of course, it goes without saying that these people, now that they've sort of built an intellectual framework and created all these weird research institutes at elite universities, they're not interested in getting masses of people on board yet. They're right now, that's why they're in the New Yorker, that's why they're in the Guardian, that's why they're in the New York Times. Their mission is to create an elite strategy of influence and movement building at the highest levels of society and international politics and finance, because I think they've quite rightly assumed that we mere plebs have absolutely no say in the running of the world. So they have a very specific and targeted way of approaching getting this structure into the brains of more people, and helped along by the petrochemical industry, because this kind of thing says, well, actually, you shouldn't stop polluting, because if you stop polluting, you might miss the pathway to the stars, essentially, because we need to keep innovating. So obviously, there's no way any of this, the fucking genocidal approach, could pass in any kind of democratic or a socialist society, just none. But it does provide a very nice series of excuses for capitalism to stick around, because it's all predicated on massive technological innovation and wizards. And it also provides excuse for the occasional, megadeaths and genocide that are going to follow from things like climate change or biosphere collapse or shit like that. And it fantastically, what I really like about it in the end is it presumes that even when we do the Great Crusade and go into the stars and have the good version of the Warhammer 40k universe, wherein we rule the full cosmos, we would still need to be exploiting resources, in all the star realms that we have. We wouldn't just we wouldn't just have Dyson spheres and all that stuff to just provide the energy. We would still
those
need
cycles
to be
won't
exploiting.
sacrifice themselves.
And all of this is 100% driven by sort of technologist visions of the future, and all of them state that all new technology is morally value neutral. It's used by humans that define it. So you can do anything and create the worst things in the world because they're not bad until we use them. Again, that's something that'll really fucking appeal to the elites of this society as everything fucking crumbles around them. Because one of them might be this pathway to the stars. And of course, it goes without saying that all of this kind of exploitation and hyper-technology and advances way beyond our understanding now in terms of biotech or whatever, is very much more likely to kill us before we reach the stars. If you look at the kind of damage that the internal combustion engine has done to the planet overall, we are much more likely to get that outcome than get to the stars. But in the meantime, Peter Thiel will get to be very, very, very rich until the day he dies. So there is that.
Hooray!
Peter Thiel's a very dangerous name, isn't it? That's my concluding thought.
Yeah, so that's long-termism. Like, be very fucking mindful, and especially this little prick McCaskill, because he looks like a little tech dweeb. He's a very good poster boy, and my guess is you might see him. Like, he might take the place of, like, what's his name again? The airport author guy. Yuval Noah Harari. That guy. Like, it wouldn't be surprising if he takes, or, what's the name of that other cunt who was on the Epstein flights?
Yeah.
You can have to be more specific.
Steven Pinker, like those kinds of guys. Like the big thinkers that do all the conferences stuff, he's going to be in that list. But the message he's going to be carrying is going to be called effective altruism. But what they mean is genocidal death to get us to the stars. And you're definitely not fucking invited.
Yeah, this whole thing is basically done so that they can stand up in their conferences, etc., and say we need more long-termist thinking, and everyone will nod and go, yeah, that sounds about right, that's true, not realising what they're signing off on. So when you hear Parliament, as a whole, the MPs in it just start talking about the need for long-termist thinking and long-term solutions, be very worried.
Yeah, so that'll just about do us for today. Do we want to do plugs and stuff, David?
Yeah, go for it. You can find us in the Torment Nexus under the crushing claws of Roko's Basilisk, which is at PraxisCast on Twitter, patreon.com/PraxisCast for bonus episodes. There is one every month. There will soon, at some point, finally, eventually, maybe, be 2 a month. Also, the Twitch stream, come join us at twitch.tv/PraxisCast tonight, if this was released on time. That is going to be the big Stellaris game, continuing
Stellaris Thunderdome.
Yep. And also listen to Peace at Home, a good podcast about Turkey that features Jamie, and also music by Jordan.
Yep. And buy shirts.
Also buy shirts and Queen's Deed.
Queen's Deed.
And on
Bye.
that note, bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.